A Melbourne dad is taking extreme steps to keep his 4 children safe with the city's knife crime out of control. He's sending them overseas to boarding school as a community rallies after twin tragedies.
Arm in arm, holding hands, hundreds fill a school basketball stadium in Cobblebank.
I have decided to follow Jesus.
They pray with candles, remembering 2 young boys.
God, our Heavenly Father, thank you for the life of Chol and Dao, innocent souls that were taken.
Murdered by a youth gang armed with knives and machetes.
We came here as refugees for safety. Our kids, they are not safe at the moment. A level of violence is high, and that creates fear.
Within Maluwal Deng's family and the South Sudanese community, the father knew both boys and is now sending his own 4 kids away.
I believe taking kids to boarding school in East Africa is the best option we have at the moment. We want them to be safe.
He says in Melbourne they are not, as youth gang violence escalates.
East Africa is safe for them. I know many friends, they did the same, but at the moment, the kids are really afraid.
We pray for those who have committed this terrible act,
who 4 days on remain on the run. Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ladies of Sosa podcast. My name is Sada.
And my name is Christine.
Today, we have a very heavy episode for you guys, truthfully. Our South Sudanese community in Australia has been going through a very, very, very troubling and heavy time. Recently, 2 young boys were recently victims of knife crime, and they go by the names of Dawa Quang and Chol Ashiek. And we have a lawyer here, a solicitor from Australia, who's going to come and actually speak to us and kind of give us a firsthand experience of what the families of the victims are going through and what the South Sudanese Australian community is also going through. And just for us to kind of share or show our solidarity with the community in Australia, and also highlight the importance of us coming together as a community. I think, you know, we come from a war-torn country, and then we come to America or Australia and Canada, and then we still go through this grieving process and, just something traumatic. So I think it's important for us to come together and talk about this. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce Maker Mayek, who is a lawyer in Australia, and he has been very active in kind of, I don't want to say speaking for the family, but really being there for the family as someone in your position. But I want to give you a chance to speak for yourself as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's an absolute honor to speak to you guys. Like I said, I've seen some of your episodes in the past. You guys have done tremendous work. There aren't as good, podcasts that highlight issues related to our diaspora communities, whether in the Americas or here in Australia or back home. So it's an honor to be speaking to you guys. The community here is extremely shocked, not because just the killings, but because of the ages of the 2 children, 12 and 15. And secondly, the brutality of how these children were killed. They don't live too far away from here where I live in my home. So probably about 15, 20 minutes. And this is, it's been a very, very bad month for the community here in Melbourne. We've had, I think, over the last 4 weeks, literally buried four young people as young as, Joel is, 12 years old. Da was 15 years old. Other kids, 21, 24, 26, a senior, a very successful young man as well, who was recently struck in the back of the head, a senior engineer working for for a very reputable firm here in Melbourne. So it's the community is extremely shocked towards what's happening here. Everyone is trying to understand and come to sense of what's happening. The families of Chol and Dawa are in complete disarray. I know the families really well. Chol's family I've done a lot of work with in the past. Dao's mom, used to know in my younger days when we used to live in Newcastle. So these are families that we know quite well. Kids who play in our basketball programs, and the issues here, I'm pretty sure, are quite similar to issues you've seen in the Americas. In Canada, I've seen some, young people suffering the same fate in Canada and the US. So the community is extremely reeling from this. We're trying to come to the terms and make sense of what is happening here.
Yeah. And so from our understanding and from what we found is that they were leaving a basketball game and simply just going home on their way home, and then they were attacked. And there hasn't been any arrest yet.
Chola Chek, 12 years old. Dao Akweng, 15 years old. These are the names of the two young Victorian boys, children, who were murdered over the weekend in a tragedy that should have never happened. They were basketballers, they were sons, they were friends, and they were loved deeply by their families and their communities. Last night, hundreds gathered in a community-led vigil. In just 2 weeks, 4 young people from this community have been lost. A community pleading for help and still met with no urgent action. Mr. Akweng, father of Dao Akweng, repeatedly reached out to police regarding concerns and yet met with no action. The South Sudanese community, like so many multicultural communities, is begging for support. And I join their calls against racialised violence, over-policing and systemic neglect that go beyond the weekend's tragedy. It took the Premier 48 hours to respond to this tragedy. My question is, would this silence have lasted this long if these boys weren't black? I demand equity, inclusion and care for this community. And my deepest condolences and prayers are with the families and communities of Chol and Dao. Rest in power, beautiful boys.
Or is there any updates on that?
There are updates. Just to put it in context a bit. These two, Chol was playing basketball for Nile Warriors, which is a South Sudanese run basketball team in the area of Coverbank, in the Melton area. Dow was friends with Chol. He had just played a game and was refereeing another game. So around 8 p.m. they caught a bus alongside some of their friends, and particularly one other young person. So as they were walking not too far away from their houses, a group of 8 men pursued them. They were wearing balaclavas, dark clothing, and they were particularly pursuing Chol. And the word is Dar may have been targeted as a collateral damage. There was another young person who they did not pursue and went home safely. So that's how they were killed. It's relatively a safe area. Coleman is not a bad. It's a pretty good area, middle class, middle income area. So this was premeditated. It was planned. These were people that were known to them, and the word is from the police. They are closing in on those young people that did this.
Okay, so that's good. So they actually do have a direction of who the suspects are and have made the proper communications and arrests. Okay, that's good.
I think the issue is these are extremely young. They're very 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 young children. You can see some social media posts of them discussing what's going on. Some people have got those social media posts. The police have got those social media posts. It appears to be some sort of young people's related beef, as they say, or just neighborhood squabbles, So people have some sense of who did it, and they've not been hiding. I'm told I was in the vigil that they turned up at the vigil, and they left, big machete right in front of the door, the basketball arena where the vigil was done. And some of the young people that were, probably affiliated with the tour pursued them. They were running around being chased by the police. I'm also told, they're coming around surveilling the house where Joel's family lives. So these young people are not trying to hide what they've done. I think that's why when you look at it, it's all stupidity. It's things that they have no idea that in 5 years time they will grow, they become adults, and they will try to come to terms of their actions.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
Because it looks like the victims knew the perpetrators. Does this mean that the perpetrators were also part of the South Sudanese community?
I think it's a mixture of the South Sudanese, the Pacific Islanders, and I think East Asian kids. The way they run, the composition of the groups here is completely entirely mixed. So it's a mixture of yes, there are some young people of South Sudanese background.
So with the gangs, so it's gang affiliated mostly, more likely than anything else.
I think without the official word from the police, the discussion is what is being discussed within the communities, and the unofficial talk by the police is that it's probably gang related.
Mm-hmm.
So this situation has sparked a lot of conversation regarding knife crime and gang violence in Australia, and so you being there and pretty much on the ground and very familiar with like the intricacies of the society, especially the South Sudanese society, how important or how big is that issue in Australia?
It is extremely big. We've got to put in mind Melbourne. I'm told, and I don't have the statistics, that it has the highest the South Sudanese population in the entire diaspora. So there has been a lot of movement from other states in New South Wales and other states to Victoria, probably because of the standards of living are far better here than most parts of Australia. So there is a huge population here. We've got a massive. A lot of young people here, knowing from the generation from 2008 are now growing up, becoming young adults, and it's a big problem. This is not the first time. On last Sunday morning, a young person that I've known for a very long time, I assisted him through the children's court issues and all that stuff. Since he was 15, was gunned down right out of his apartment. He was 26 years old. We don't know what's going on. I spoke about the young engineer who was struck in the back of the head right in the middle of the day. Nobody knows, where this happened, why this happened. So when you look at it from the west, which is the west, Melbourne West, this is where we live. And we've got another huge population in the southeast of Melbourne. These are areas, you put it together, we'll probably have had easily 6 to 8 young people being buried in the last 4 weeks. This is, all knife crime. And, there are some guns involved, but it's mainly knife crime. And it's not gone down for the last 7-8 years. I'm not sure if you guys have followed. There was a little bit of furor over the last, I think, 2 to 3 years when there was a federal election being run here, and the election was purely run on South Sudanese issues. And this is when we spoke out about this. There used to be some gang called Apex Gang, which was mainly comprised of South Sudanese and, Pacific Islanders and Vietnamese and that stuff. They were terrorizing the communities here. They were, doing the break-ins, burglaries, stealing cars and, killing each other in parties and all that sort of a thing. So it's not gone down. It's getting worse. And with the number of young people who are growing up here, purely Australian, second generation Australian, all they have in common with me is the skin. They don't speak their dialects or the languages we speak back home. They have no idea about South Sudan. They don't have a lot in terms of values with our communities here. So the issues, the things have gotten worse. We're trying whatever we can, especially around young people who play basketball.
So I was over there a couple weeks ago, about a week ago, and I was having this conversation about what do you feel like the parents can do, especially when it comes to like putting the message into these kids that they are South Sudanese and talking to them about their culture and being able to do. Is there community events that y'all are organizing? Are y'all pushing forward to like solve the problem yourselves over allowing the government to come in? Because I feel like if the government oversight does come in, it could be like in the United States where now you're just getting all these kids who know nothing about back home getting deported and getting taken away, and they have no option, especially when it comes to like these crimes and the way that they're going to jail. Because I see that like y'all don't have the same punishments that we do in the United States when it comes to the capital murder and all that stuff. It's way less time that y'all spend. So like the punishment doesn't seem to fit the crime the same way. So are y'all asking the government to make the punishment harsher, or what are y'all specifically wanting? And what is like the message that y'all are doing as a unit? Because like you're asking the government without a prudent idea of what you want to push forward to, that can be a problem, especially when it comes to people who don't know the community and who just look at everybody as the same.
Look, I think if we put it in the context of the Australian law, these are kids that were born here. They can't be deported. And Australian citizenship is not cannot be revoked. There was only one instance in the past where it was said by the High Court of Australia that citizenship could be revoked, in a case of terrorism. That was struck down. So in terms of deportation, that's not going to happen because these are second generation Australians. In terms of what we're doing as a community, look, it's like I said before. The issues that are facing our young people here are not too far different from the issues that are in the United States or in the UK or in Canada. They're quite similar. And they start from home, broken homes, children being completely disengaged from the community, no matter what you do. And I believe you guys have seen, you have an idea, you probably have relatives there, you might have just said you've been here. This is the South Sudanese Australian community is probably one of the most cultured that you can come across in our diaspora communities. So there are lots of events that happen. The different communities do whatever they can. Some of these children are not simply interested, to be affiliated with the cultural events. Even the ones who are affiliated with cultural events, you'll find them on a Sunday evening going to dance law. On Monday or Wednesday, they are committing crimes. So so these things we've got a lot of these things happening. The community is it's. I can't say highly organized, but there are things that happen if a child is interested. There are things that could keep them engaged. We've got a basketball association, which I also run as the CEO, which is probably one of the best there is in our diaspora communities. Has produced some of the best young people who play professionally, as well as for the South Sudanese national team. So we've got things that are happening. It's simply that the generational issues, young people being not being engaged with their homes, broken homes, perhaps poverty as well, issues they face in school, and perhaps peer pressure. And what you and I know drugs or substance abuse and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They do these things under under drugs, or they seriously medicated with the drugs, and so they've got nothing to fear, and they do these things mercilessly. So the community is doing its best. The community is doing whatever it can, to help, and we're engaging with the government. The killings of Chol and Dao have really shocked everyone, including both states and federal government. Just the other day, the Attorney General went to the Attorney General of Australia, visited Dao's house, a lot of members of Parliament, both state and federal, just to make some sense and condole with the family. So in terms of what we're asking, in terms of government interventions, I think for us to be able as a community to up our game in terms of helping young people is to have the resources. We're not all the same. There are families that are really struggling, and we see this. There are families where the children who come from broken homes. These are children that we need to pay attention to. As for us, particularly us as fathers, we need to be able to pay more attention to young people who come from broken homes, starting with whether this is in soccer games, soccer clubs, basketball clubs, so that we see when a young person is not being dropped off to a basketball game or to a training, and they want to catch a bus at 8 p.m. No, we're saying that's not going to happen anymore. We have to get buses so that we safely drop them off to their houses. If they leave in the middle of the night, then probably as a community, that's not our responsibility, the parents' responsibility. But we're putting in measures because I think this is not abating. It's getting worse.
Yeah. Right. I know you had a question.
Go ahead,
yeah. So I know that when it comes to this case, now it's getting attention. But in general, from what I hear, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it looks like one of the victims was talking to their parent, and their parent was reaching out to authorities for help, telling them, "This is my son is concerned that his life might be in danger," and so this is getting attention now. But do you feel like the authorities care enough about what's going on in these communities? I mean, before this case that became so public, do you think they care enough, or are they doing enough to tackle this problem?
Yes. Look, like I said, over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think dating back to 2018. The federal election here, one of the issues that the election was what they call the African gang issues. And, we ran a very successful media campaign to say, these are not, you're calling our young people, gangs, you're trying to criminalize, activities of young people. These are simply young people who are disengaged with the community, young people in poverty and broken homes and all this, and we're doing what we can to help them. We're calling people, we're calling partnerships. We're asking governments, whether these are councils, state governments, federal government, to come and join us and partner with us so that we can help them. There has been attention on this because there have been pretty high-profile killings that have happened in the past, and the state government has always been focused on this. There was a time when there was a task force which was solidly dedicated to the African young people to be able to partner with the community, have informants within the community, so that issues are arrested before they went too far. That task force was since abolished for one reason or another. I think it's about the time that the task force comes back, because we need to have a multifaceted approach. There is no one size fits all for these issues. As much as we, as a community, we say we don't want our young people to be criminalized, or their activities or their behaviors. We are quite aware there are young people that we may not help, or they will be much more dissuaded by criminal syndicates to remain doing their activities. So it will be by any means the law enforcement will have to do their job and deal with them. And there are those young people that we can sincerely help. We've successfully done it before. So we're adopting a multifaceted approach to help our young people, and the police will have to do their job as well, and we'll see what will happen over the next few months.
I wanted to ask, because over the last week, I've been seeing a lot of call to action on Facebook and on social media. They want people to come together, and a lot of people are coming up with their own individual initiatives, but how can we centralize this initiative to tackle the root cause? And how can we, as the Ladies of Sosa podcast, use our platform to help solve this issue? Because like you said, it's not only an issue in Australia, it's kind of been a pattern in all of the diaspora communities. So how can we help, and how can we target the root cause of why this is taking place in all of our communities across the world?
I think we need to keep talking about this issue. I think what you guys have done now is the first step. We need to make sense of what's happening, across the world with our young people, and the relationships that we create and maintain. We've got to look at the broader issues of what happens with with our young people when relationships break down. I think we need to evaluate ourselves. A lot of this falls on us really, really heavily. I think it's us. We should be able to ensure that young people continue to do well in school, so that they don't drop out of schools. We want to make sure when relationships break down, we continue to be involved. Fathers particularly need to continue to be involved, because it's the boy child that is highly problematic here. Yes, young girls are also involved in this, but not as much as the boy child. So I think the primary responsibility falls on us as the fathers, to ensure that when relationships end, that we continue to be involved with our children, live close to them. It also falls on our mothers to make sure that when relationships break down, I know they do become extremely bitter. People do have their own problems, their own feelings, but to allow fathers to be involved. Don't keep fathers away from their children, because when a young man becomes a teenager, chances of him listening to the mother fade. We want to be in their lives. I think it's very important that we understand this across the world, and for us fathers to do whatever the best we can. Save the ones that we can. If we can't, for the ones that are not going to listen to us, make sure that we can always get the law enforcement involved as early as possible. We've spoken about the deportation before. Lawfully that's not the case here with in Australia, but self-deportation, I think it's very important. I came back from Nairobi a couple, just 1.5 weeks ago. My kids are there, and I completely love the way the direction the kids are taking. Their growth in terms of the academics, the values that they're adopting, when they are of age, when they can come back here, they've grown their sense of identity, of the values they espouse as South Sudanese, children. Then they can come back and take advantage of the opportunities that are here.
Yeah, and thank you so much for also stepping into the role of not only just being a lawyer, but also the CEO of the South Sudanese Association. South Sudanese Australian National Basketball Association, which basketball has been a great outlet for young South Sudanese to, kind of have another option outside of probably being in the streets or getting into gangs or just other things that can get you in trouble. You're creating a solution for us young people to have an option. And that's beautiful, and have a future, because basketball is a huge thing for South Sudanese now. There's so many opportunities. So thank you so much for that as well. And just being a role model and really walking the talk.
Yeah, I think what I gather from what you said is that we're losing our values, we're losing our sense of identity and that connection to our culture. And I think that's why the youth are lost. I think that's the best way to put it.
Identity crisis.
Right. We're having an identity crisis, and we're latching on to, especially what you said. I love what you said about fathers. They go and look for that sense of family outside of the home because they, for some reason, are not getting that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a failure on our part as a community to not have a safe place for them to land. If they don't have that family structure that they need at home, they should be able to go out in the community and get that. So I think that this is a very big call to action across the world, and our culture is what makes us who we are. And if we don't have that, we don't know who we are, and we're lost. So
and I like the idea of self-deporting that you just talked about. I've heard that from a couple of people where they take their kids back to a place like Kenya when they're still young, let them attend school there, and then when they're about a certain age, they can bring them back here, and then that way they already have a sense of identity, a sense of, you know, learning the values, and then, you know, they're not getting influenced, and then they come here and they do very well compared to the kids who just begin from the
West.
Mm-hmm. Just begin from the West. So
right.
I've heard that from a lot of people, and it's not such a bad idea.
So I have a quick question. So like for those kids that are just here and they'll have that option, especially when it comes to being South Sudanese in a new land, they look at you differently, and then the mental health crisis that happens from it. So you're going to these schools where you're getting made fun of, you look different, you're not really having the opportunity to like connect to your culture, but like the culture that you're in doesn't also connect to you. And so then you go online and now you can see this drill music where are these gang kids, like this true, they're connecting to them more than anything else. And this is where the vulnerability kind of is open to, which we need younger people who could connect to these younger people, talk to them and say, okay, I went through the same experience. This is how you focus on this. So are we having
anger? There's a lot of anger, I feel like, with the youth.
Exactly. Do we have younger kids in the community that are also willing to step forward? Because I had a conversation with my cousin. He's trying to do that, especially with their BA community over there. And we talked about mental health, and we were talking about the young man who recently just took himself, unalived himself. Or they were just talking about it, and they had a meeting, which was the connection between the youth and the new adults and the new people with their children. And it's like the miscommunication between two cultures was like, it was a lot of headbutting going on where they're like, you got to understand your children now. You have to be willing to, I know back home we do things like this, but how are y'all as adults going to be able to be like, okay, I got to figure out what's going on here? And how do you feel like the older generation could connect to these younger kids?
Yeah,
that's a long question.
Parents. Look, I think it's such an important question, and there are lots of things that come into play. With your question, and I think this is, broadly speaking, it's not just here. It's where you guys come from as well. Parents are really learning. What I've seen over the last few years. They're connecting dots. They're listening to their children. I remember, when we were growing up, we used to go to soccer games and basketball games, and we used to catch buses, and parents, nothing like that. But now, you see by sidelines, you're seeing parents being present, during basketball games. They are traveling across, we have big families. You've got 4 boys, 5 boys. On Saturday, you're waking up early in the morning to travel to regional Victoria for this, child to go and play basketball. And then in the afternoon, another child is playing the AFL, the Australian Football League, and different sports. So I've seen there are fantastic examples of parents doing this, and we really applaud them for that. There are also young people's groups. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay. I think the screen, everyone looks frozen on the screen for some reason. So there are so many groups of young people, stepping in, being role models, for the younger ones. So a lot of things are happening in Manuel, and I think it's really commendable. We need to continue doing this. We need to continue doing our part as the community, and things will change, but only if we really step up.
Yeah.
We need to do more. We need to continue working. We need to continue, calling out ourselves. Self-evaluation. Because the problems are ours, they are not. We can't go and look for solutions elsewhere. We can ask other people to help us, but the problems are within us, and I think we need to continue working together. Like you guys have had this episode, which will be listened to across the whole, across the world, and I think it's a call to action, and I really appreciate what you've done.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for coming.
You added so much context. We really try our best to understand what's going on over there, but it's nothing like having someone who actually is from the community there to come on and speak to us. It is 3:00 in the morning there. I just want to mention that for our viewers.
Well, it's about to be 4 now.
So thank you so much. Well, you have no idea. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Maker. And our
we'd love to have you back for a longer.
Yes. Yes. But our deepest condolences to the family of Dow and Joel. And we really, like, when we see people that look like us, our people, they look like our little brothers, and so it really sits with us that our people are suffering even across the pond. So we really do send our condolences, and we wish the best.
Please share if there's any GoFundMes or anything for the families. We'd love to share them on our platform.
Yes, we would love to share the GoFundMe. We'll have it on the episode here, so that if anybody wants to contribute, we will definitely be contributing from us on behalf of Ladies of Sosa. And thank you so much.
Thank you. We hope to have you again for a more positive topic in the future, hopefully.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Ladies of Sosa. This was a heavy episode, but it was very, very necessary. And for the South Sudanese community in Australia, please feel free to drop down in the comments and let us know your experience. Let us know if you would like to be a guest, and anything else.
If there's any way we can help, our platform is always open. If you do want to create your own content and submit it to us, we have no problem sharing it on our platform on your behalf as well. So anything that we can do to help, we are more than willing. And
especially if you work in the community, if you have anybody that works in the community, any events, any things that you would feel like need to be shared, especially for these young kids that need more things outside of what they're doing, just be willing to share that.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.